name is Mike Yon. I'm a residential contractor and I do windows, siding, and doors. And I wanted to go over some of the pitfalls that I've found when people purchase a new house. A couple of things I'd like to go over are agents. So what your agent is, what they do for you, the inspection report, and then the type of repairs that can be done. The first thing is the agent. Some agents are great and they'll go out of their way to make sure that they've got your back and they won't let you buy something that needs a lot of work. There are other agents who will rationalize things out and say, hey, most of the house is good, XYZ, here you go. And then there's another kind which is the worst kind, which is the folks that really just don't care. And then they'll sell you whatever piece of garbage is out there just so that they can, get a check. And ultimately, it's up to you to find that guy. I've had real estate agents that have crawled into crawl spaces themselves to find problems, to see if there was an issue. And then I have had others that all they did was, look at the inspection report. And, the inspection report is, I think it's overused. It's a problem. Everybody thinks, hey, the inspection report, let's just go off of that and it's no big deal. If it's not on the inspection report, everything's fine. And it's just not true. There's a lot of issues with the inspection process too. Some companies are great and some aren't. And most agents focus on, and most reports, they focus on the big things. So they'll focus on your roof, the HVAC, the appliances, the electrical system. And I have seen them, they will note, if there are problems around the house. But the one thing that's lacking is information on how a repair should be done, because there's a few different ways to make repairs to exterior on the exterior of a house. And I'm sorry, I'm referring to exterior issues. The exterior of your home is the most important part of your home. It protects everything inside. And if you don't protect that, you can have a flood and then everything inside gets destroyed. So, lately I've frankly been called out on a couple of, a couple real estate agents wanted my advice, and I felt like I was caught in a corner because I looked at the house and I was called out to do windows or to do something, and something like one thing, like a window or a door, and I will walk around the house and I just see problem after problem after problem after problem. And most of that will just be a little tiny annotation on an inspection report. So, number one, choose your agent carefully. Make sure they've got your best interest in mind, because once the price is set and you're past due diligence and you guys accept everything with the with the house, you're stuck with it. So if you notice that, hey, there's a lot of little repairs around this house, those things can add up. And the worst thing is that if they're massive bondo all over the house, chances are you're not just going to pull a door out and put it in. You're going to wind up replacing the entire unit, and you could wind up replacing the framing in the house. And most real estate agents don't know all that. They don't. They just say, "Oh, that's just cut a piece of wood out, put it in there." Well, if you understand that, that's not a great repair. It's called a scarf joint, and you understand that's what you're getting, or that you have to, probably do some work to the house to fix this down the road. No problem. that's on you. You can then get it fixed at your own leisure. But if you don't understand how a repair should be made up front and what to look for, you may not realize, hey, that shutter outside is a $300 shutter, and that's the cost. Or that window up there is a $5,000 window, and there's no other way to fix it than replacing the window. Oh, you might be able to Bondo it, and it'll last about 6 months, maybe a year, depending on how bad the rot is. But you're going to wind up coming back to it, and the rot could spread. I've had windows that had been repaired so often there was nothing left. I mean, it was just a rotten, full of gobbledygook in the bottom of it with Bondo, and it was just falling. You could literally push your finger right through the window and see inside the person's house. And I'm sorry, Bondo's not going to fix that. You can cover it up; it'll last a little while, but it's just not going to work. So the time to negotiate your repairs is before you buy the house. And one of the major issues that I've found is that people keep saying, that's just aesthetics. That's just an aesthetic problem. We're not going to pay for it. Well, if a window has seal failure in it and it's rotting out at the bottom, it could be rotting out because there's condensation in between the panes of glass. And I'm sorry, that's not aesthetics. And either way, I don't care if it's aesthetics or not, it's got to get fixed. So make sure that your agent is going to bat for you and doing the right thing, and make sure that you understand how much each one of the items on the inspection report is going to cost to fix. Because most agents will have their guy. Oh, I got a guy that can fix that. Okay, they're trained to work for that agent. They know what that agent wants. Okay, that agent wants you to come in there and fix it, make a repair as cheap as possible. Most of the time, that's a scarf joint or it's using Bondo, and make it look pretty. That's a huge problem because you're going to wind up either repairing or replacing it again in 1 to 3 years. No doubt. No company out there warranties a Bondo job. If they use Bondo, they say no warranty. And you don't get it. As soon as the house changes hands, there's no, the person may have done the work the day before, but there's no warranty, usually on a paint job, to the next owner. So you're left holding the bag. So if you don't do your due diligence and make sure you find out, hey, how much is it to replace this door? How much is it to replace that window? If it's a funky looking window, I guarantee you it's extremely expensive to replace. If it's a simple double hung, chances are, if it's a cheap repair or inexpensive repair, like if it's a stock shutter at Lowe's or Home Depot, that will probably get repaired. If it's an expensive shutter, such as a custom-made $300 shutter that's made out of wood, it's probably not going to get repaired. They're probably going to Bondo it because the new homeowner doesn't want to put the money in it. If they've got a decent looking front door, but it's got rot in the bottom and all over it, they're probably not going to replace the door. They're going to have somebody come in a white van and get out, slap it with Bondo, and then they're going to paint it and go away. And there's no warranty. And if the person that did the Bondo work is good, you can hardly tell. If they're not good, which is usually what I run into, you can tell, and then you need to investigate further. You can usually find a lot more around the house. So, that's one thing that you've got to look for. As soon as you find 1 or 2 little items, really, then you need the hairs on the back of your head should go off. And you should pay attention to every little nook and cranny, every window pane, everything in that house, and see if you find more Bondo, because chances are they're not going to replace the expensive items. Just remember that. So if it's just a normal double hung window that opens and closes, that's not a fortune to replace. Okay, it's the big, usually they don't open, but it's usually a picture window. It's got a half round on it. It's usually 6 or 7 feet tall above a front door. Any door in the house, especially double doors, those are very expensive to replace. Those are common for having threshold problems and rot in the sides of them. So really, really, really walk the house and make sure that you look yourself. So now we're going to move on to inspection reports. Inspection reports are the same thing with real estate agents. Some are good, some are bad. The main thing to look at an inspection report is if something is found. So if somebody says, hey, there's something wrong with the HVAC system, or hey, we found this repair work that was done on this window, or there was some minor work needs to be done over here, over there, don't let the real estate agent send their person over to fix it, and don't let the homeowner fix it. You need to fix it. Get money to have it fixed, because every one of those people that I just mentioned, usually the real estate agent's guy is going to send over, do the cheapest repair possible, and then you're going to wind up repairing it correctly 3 or 4 years down the road, usually with a replacement. A lot of things, if you get it done repaired correctly the first time, you're done. But what will happen is they'll do a scarf joint, and I'll put pictures in at the end of what a scarf joint is. Hey, it looks horrible. And I'm sorry, if you're buying a $300,000, $1 million house, and that somebody didn't take care of, that's not your fault. That's the previous homeowner's fault, and they need to take care of it, or you need to walk away. And you need to realize how much that costs to fix. Because I'm telling you, big windows, big doors, specialty windows, and the casement windows that crank out, they're very expensive. And I don't think that, I told somebody the other day, they asked me, how much is this window to replace? And it was a huge window. I said, that's a $5,000 window with a double pane and tempered glass, because to bring it up to code, you had to put tempered glass in it. And the real estate agent was like, oh, wow, I had no idea. And they don't know. And they didn't even ask the seller. And it was noted that there was some rot on the window. But every agent thinks, okay, we'll just fix the rot and move on. Most of the time, you can't do that. If you do that, what happens is the person that comes in and uses the Bondo and tries to repair it, most of the time they do not do a good job removing the rot. Now, I'm not going to say that there's not a guy that's out there that is awesome at it and can do it, because there might be. I'm just telling you what I deal with. Almost every window that has serious rot in it has been Bondoed 3 or 4 times, and I've had to replace framework because the rot spread. And rot, dry rot, what everybody calls dry rot, is actually little microbes eating the wood. So it's like a cancer. It doesn't stop. It keeps going. And it feeds off the moisture in the air, so you can't make it go away once it's in there. And what these people do is they'll come in, they'll just slap the epoxy on or the Bondo on and cover it up. And if they're really good, they'll sand it out smooth, and that you won't even know it's there. Usually if they're really, really fast, you'll see streaks, and it's rough and pitted, and there's air bubbles in it, and you can really tell that there's a problem with it. If you see that, chances are that's been repaired 3 or 4 times, and you need to think this is going to have to be replaced down the road shortly. I don't mean like 10 years. I mean shortly. And like I said before, when you buy a house, you didn't buy a house thinking, okay, I'm going to have to replace 5 windows and 5 doors within 3 years. You expect it to last for a little bit of while, unless you know up front. If you know up front and you say, hey, this house has a lot of problems with it, but I'm going to take care of them, cool, buy the house. You're good to go. But most of the time, people don't realize how much it costs to get this stuff done correctly. And it is expensive. Like I said, it's not the buyer's fault. It's not your fault that the person that owns the house didn't take care of it or took the cheap route in repairing it. So look around the house. Make sure you get cash for the repairs up front, because my experience has been is that most quality, higher end repair people will not use Bondo. Even the lower end guys that do that repair, they won't warranty the work. So that says it all right there. And if you do use Bondo, just know chances are, nothing's 100%, but chances are you're going to have to deal with it down the road. Bondo is usually a Band-Aid. And some people say it lasts 5 years, some 3. I'll tell you right now, I moved into my house and I've got 2 giant windows that I knew were going to be replaced when we moved in, and we got some, we had some money taken off the house, so I knew we were going to have to do them. And then I had 2 spots on a door that I didn't realize had been Bondoed. And then I had 2 shutters that were Bondoed. And it's a double door. That's even for me as a contractor, the cost of the door is a lot of money. And I've got shutters that are out front. They're not normal shutters that you can get at Home Depot. They have an arc in the top of them. Home Depot doesn't carry them, and they have to be wood because they have to match the rest of the house, the color. So I can't get a vinyl shutter. So knowing that, and most homeowners look, oh, it's just shutter, $150, $100. The shutters on the side of my house right now are $300. That's just for the shutter, 1 set. And that's a custom wood shutter because they have to match the other 5 that I have on my house. And that's something else that you have to consider. If you've got 15 windows on the front of your house and you've got one that went bad, you have to be able to find the window that went bad, otherwise it's going to look different. And you need to think of that as a buyer. Hey, if one window's bad, if I can't find that window, I might have to do all the windows in the front of my house to make them look right. And most of the time that's not true, that's an extreme case, but I've had it happen, or I've had to pull the old window out, take it to a millwork shop and had to have it copied. And they made it out of PVC, and so they won't ever have a rotting issue again. But that's a lot of money because you have to board up the window, take the window in. It's usually a casement window because the rails and the stiles on the window have to match exactly, and it's very difficult to find a company that's still in. If a house was built 30 years ago, chances are that window manufacturer is no longer in business. So just remember, when you get the report back, make sure that you go over it, and then go walk the house yourself and look at. So if the HVAC system is 30 years old, it's got a problem. It's going to have a problem. Most of the things are kind of obvious. The outside of your house, you kind of have to dig in a little bit. Get a professional out there, especially if you see one little spot, probably not a big deal. You start seeing 2 or 3, and it's noted on the inspection report, you need to get somebody else out there to give you an honest opinion and a price tag of what it's going to cost. And I don't mean a Bondo repair. I mean a quality repair, because that's what you're buying. You're buying a new house that you expect or you hope was maintained properly. And it's up to you to find out if it wasn't maintained properly. That's why you do the inspection. Unfortunately, the inspectors in most areas, all they have to do is refund you your money back. So if you find 10 windows wrong, or 10 bad windows in your house after the fact, they give you the $500,000-$700,000 back, and that's it. And then you're stuck with you potentially a $10,000 bill, depending on the windows. And some windows aren't even covered. They'll just make sure they open. So the picture windows that don't open, they don't look for rot, or they don't get on ladders and go on top of, the second, third story. So you've really, really got to be careful. And like I said, if you're on the bottom level and you start to see some of these warning signs, I almost guarantee you, as you go up, and you're gonna find more. You're gonna find a lot more. And you're looking at replacing sills. You're looking at replacing full frames, full doors as a unit, because it is very, very difficult to change part of a door frame out and have it last. I'm sure there are guys that can do it, but you know, technology has come a long way. We've got better doors. So most of the time, if you've got a rotten wooden frame, you know, it might be time just to replace it. The only other choice when you've got a frame is to, a bad door frame, is to do a scarf joint. And that's going to lead to problems down the road, because when you cut a piece of wood out, put a new piece back in, unless you can do the whole piece, you've just created another spot for water to get into. And it's called a scarf joint. So it's very common, and it looks horrible. Especially if you've had it done 2 or 3 times and there's just pieces. You can just see a piece of brick molding or a piece of door frame that's got cut after cut after cut after cut, and then somebody tried to silicone it. You can tell when you've got a bad contract, when you've got a cheap, low-end repair job. And if you see that, I highly suggest bringing in somebody that knows something about it and can give you a really good, clean, clear estimate on how much it's going to cost and what it's going to take. Because you really don't ever know until you start peeling the layers back. And that's just the way it is. You know, nobody's got x-ray vision. You know, I've seen pieces added to windowsills, and then I pulled the covering piece off, and then it's rotten all underneath, and the inspector never caught it. I was at a house yesterday. They literally had a sill, and I was like, something's not right, because I looked out the window, and the trim piece outside, you could see the inside of it from the inside of the house, and it was sticking up too high. And I went outside, and sure enough, somebody had added it. And I guarantee you, if I had pulled that off, it was rotten and destroyed all inside. And it was a double door with 2 side lights and a transom above the door. That is a very expensive door to replace. And like I said, it's not your fault. It's not the buyer's fault that the house wasn't maintained properly, but you will wind up paying for it if you don't note it and get some money for it. And the problem is, most of the time, you know, the agents are going to say, well, that's aesthetics, or that it's not. In a lot of the cases, it's not. It's bad, and it can be bad, and it's a huge cost. So bring in the professional and get it. You know, get a good assessment from whatever trade does, you know, that work. If it's a bad window and door, bring in a window and door guy. You know, if it's stucco, bring in your own stucco guy. You know, and have them evaluate it, even if you have to pay them. Just do it. You know, bring in a chimney cap guy. You know, bring in a chimney guy. Bring in a chimney sweep. Bring in a roofing expert. You know, pay for it. Just have it done. Because I'm telling you, somebody didn't maintain the house correctly, and you're the one that winds up paying for it in the long run. And just to reiterate, most real estate agents are good, and they don't want you to have problems with your house. They don't. Most people are good. Most agents are good. Most of them also don't know. They don't know any better. They depend too much on that inspection report, or they've got a jack of all trades that they've been working with for years, and that guy probably uses Bondo, and that's not the type of repair you want on your new house. You want it fixed correctly. You want to move in to that house and not have to do anything for a long time if that's what you paid for. Now, if you didn't pay for that, you know, if you got a $300,000 house and, you know, it's got a lot of problems, you only paid $250 for it to take care of the problems, that's great. You're no problem. But at least you know and you can take care of it. The problem is, what I see happening all the time is people are asking premium prices. They put lipstick on a pig. They use Bondo. They hid things. They hired a guy in a white van to come out and do a bunch of repairs, and it's, you know, you look at the side of a door or a window and it's all cut up. There's little lines in it all over it, up and down it, where somebody did a ton of different repairs, and that's just not good, because it's that door has lost a lot of its integrity at that point. you know, and most people don't warranty that work. So I just felt like I needed to make a video for people to honestly to help them out, because I'm tired of going. I usually replace windows when people want them replaced, but I've been doing a lot of windows that are needed, that need to be replaced, or there's a combo, need want. They're old windows and they want to replace them. They want to put something new in that works and that will save them a little bit of energy and make the room brighter, and it's got a clean new look. That's what I usually do. When I go out and meet these new buyers, nobody knows any better. I mean, you need to hire. I don't know anything about HVAC, so what do I hire an HVAC guy to come out? Unless the unit's brand new. I mean, you either know you're going to have to replace it down the road, or if it's not working on the inspection report, you got it, red flag. I need to go get an HVAC guy to come out and look at this thing and tell me what it's going to cost. Does it need to be replaced? Okay, well, let me take it off the bill. So that's it. Thank you.
So each one of these photographs shows a repair that was done using Bondo, and the rot continued beyond the repair. The wood expanded and contracted. The Bondo repair didn't move. The wood did. It cracked. The wood absorbed moisture, and then it cracked, and now the integrity of the window is shot, and you can't fix this. This picture right here, you cannot fix it. It will not get better. This next one right here, this is the windowsill. This frame has gotten all the way. The entire windowsill needs to be replaced, and we got into some frame damage too. So it is bad. Actually, we had to rebuild the entire frame on this one, because water got in there after a bad Bondo job. And this one, same thing. It had been repaired with Bondo a million times. I literally, hit it with my fist, and that's what happened. It cracked off. So be very, very careful when you purchase a house. I really hope this helps, and I hope I could save y'all money. And have a great day.